video that he put out after your win?
More talk and less action. The complete opposite to what I'm trying to do. I'm less talk, more action. He's more talk. Bro, if he's down, like, honestly, I've set my team, 258 management, up a task to get done before Christmas. They've got until, they haven't got until, but they want to get them in a position where they're doing certain things to be proactive rather than reactive. So they're out working as we speak now. Some people are abroad speaking to certain people, and some people are here drafting certain contracts to get in a position where we can start having talks about how this fight will look logistically.
Except that the fight with Tyson Fury is bigger than being undisputed.
Yeah, it is. It is, because I know, when I win, I'll go back to fight for that belt anyway. That'll be my goal. If they don't throw a mandatory on me, that I have to, do you know what I mean? If I can fight Tyson Fury, rematch him, because there was obviously going to be a rematch in there, I beat him again, I get over these two difficult hurdles, because they're serious fights, I'll go straight back to try and fight for that title fight, 100%.
With that, we received the confirmation that Anthony Joshua would be willing to vacate his WBO title if this is what he has to do in order to secure a fight with Tyson Fury next. It's got to be Tyson Fury, WBO or not. Let's get the fight done. And, this goes back to what I told you guys before. This is a scenario that Anthony Joshua is willing to entertain because he knows that even if he vacates the WBO title, and even if that title ends up in the hands of Alexander Usyk, it's still not outside of arm's reach.
You can get it back.
So it isn't yet set in stone that that's the way the cookie's going to crumble, that that's how things are going to happen, that Anthony Joshua will effectively vacate the title and thereby make it available for Alexander Usyk to fight someone in the WBO's top 10.
For the title.
For it. It's not set in stone that that's how it's going to happen, so much as if that's what needs to happen, then that is something that Anthony Joshua is willing to do. And we've talked about this in a previous video. We've also talked about how, since he's more open to that idea, that actually increases the chance of Alexander Usyk actually becoming a world champion in this division. That is, he stands a better chance of procuring a world title so long as he doesn't have to go through either Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua to get one. And what resonates with me the most on the heels of this news is that, it's the WBO's loss. I mean, if it's anybody's loss, it's the WBO's loss, because the Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight is a historic fight, and it's not every day you get the chance to crown an undisputed champion in a given weight class. That really is a special occasion. I happen to think that in situations like that, there really should be exemptions by way of the alphabets. These are special scenarios that are important to the fighters, important to the fans, important to the sport of boxing, important enough that certain exemptions should be allowed in these scenarios. This is not your run-of-the-mill unification match. This is an undisputed title fight. Moreover, it's a heavyweight undisputed title fight. Now, I understand that a lot of times, the alphabets, they tend to bend the rules, and it isn't right.
It isn't ethical.
But I think these alphabets, all four of them, the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF, I think they need to have a conference with each other to iron out a set of guidelines that they all can abide by.
In these situations.
After all, they do all operate in the exact same sport. I think they need to develop a set of guidelines that they all abide by depending on certain situations, certain scenarios. Do you really want to be the sanctioning body that stands in the way of an undisputed champion?
You really want to miss that party?
Myself, I'm not a big complainer. If this is the way it's going to happen, if Anthony Joshua has to vacate the WBO in order to go straight into the Tyson Fury fight, I'm okay with that. If Anthony Joshua ends up defending the WBO against his mandatory challenger, Alexander Usyk, I'm okay with that too. There's a precedence for both of those scenarios.
Yeah, there is.
But wouldn't it be fucking great if instead of the WBO, becoming an obstacle, with what they want, their mandates, so on and so forth, wouldn't it be great if everybody worked together to make that fight happen, you understand? With all the titles on the line. A historic event for the Brits, a historic event for the sport of boxing. Wouldn't it be great if everybody were working together to see that through? There have been rumblings that Alexander Usyk has very recently become receptive to stepping aside. I don't know how much validity there is to those rumors, but that's encouraging. It is.
If it's true.
Given the size and the scale of a Joshua versus Fury fight, I think there's more than enough money in the pot to conjure up a nice little package for Alexander Usyk to compensate him for stepping aside and letting the fight happen with all 4 of the major alphabet titles on the line. We'll see if that's how that cookie crumbles. Anthony Joshua recently commented on Tyson Fury saying, "I respect the man for what he's achieved. He is a phenomenal athlete. If he is the best in his division, let's get it cracking. The fight's big enough as it is. I don't need to belittle him or anything like that." And these comments from Anthony Joshua, they also go back to what I told you guys before.
There's no need for the dog and pony show.
Given Anthony Joshua's character, the kind of athlete that he is, he won't resort to the WWE antics that we often see associated with the buildup of Tyson Fury's fights. Not that there's anything wrong with that. After all, it is a marketing tool. But given Anthony Joshua's character, his demeanor, the kind of athlete that he is, the consummate professional that he is, he doesn't deem it necessary to start trashing a guy who's,
His Moby Dick.
there's no need to be disingenuous about things here. There's no need to pretend that this isn't the biggest fight of Anthony Joshua's career when we all know that it is. That if you are to adequately prepare yourself for the boxer, the fighter, the champion that Tyson Fury is, you need to be honest with yourself and you need to be honest with everyone else.
Belittling Tyson Fury won't help.
I think different fighters use different methodologies to prepare for big fights,
Psychologically.
Teofimo Lopez, for example, ahead of the Vasyl Lomachenko fight, he didn't offer up the respect for Vasyl Lomachenko that Anthony Joshua is offering up for Tyson Fury. Those two kids, they're operating on different wavelengths. For Teofimo, it was about not offering up that respect to Vasyl Lomachenko as to not walk into the ring acquiescing to defeat. That, never mind all the Matrix stuff, all the hoopla and the Kool-Aid they were passing around about this guy. Teofimo believed he had everything it took to win that fight. Turns out he was right, in a manner of speaking. For Anthony Joshua, the wavelength is a little bit different. He's being honest with himself about Tyson Fury, that the guy's got to be a good fighter to have made it to this point, so there's no sense in being disingenuous about it. You don't got to trash the guy. Don't belittle him, because this is your Moby Dick. This is the biggest fight of your career. There is
Usefulness.
a lot of good to be derived from both of those mindsets. The mindset of a Teofimo Lopez ahead of a Lomachenko fight, and the mindset of an Anthony Joshua ahead of a Tyson Fury fight. Psychologically, you do what you gotta do to prepare yourself.
Whatever it takes.
It's not a guarantee that we get that fight next, though. Wouldn't it be nice if we did? It's not a guarantee that Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is going to be the very next fight we see. But here's to hoping that whatever needs to get ironed out gets ironed out, so that, that becomes the reality.
We'll just have to wait and see what develops.
In other news, on the upcoming Juan Francisco Estrada versus Roman Gonzalez WBC, WBA Super Flyweight title unification in March, the WBC stated today that Tszyu will still keep his mandatory status and will get to fight Estrada versus Gonzalez winner by August or September. And, thank God for that. I still find it a little bit frivolous that Sorung Visai achieved mandatory status having not campaigned as a super flyweight since Juan Francisco Estrada beat him. You gotta understand that. Sor hasn't campaigned in the super flyweight division since he lost that fight. So how is it that he came to procure a mandatory slot in the super flyweight division since he hasn't been there?
I don't know.
There still is a level of frivolity to that, but just looking at the silver lining in all of this, looking on the bright side, at least we get the fight. And that's what I wanted more than anything. No roadblocks, no obstacles, nothing standing in the way of the rematch between Chocolatito and Gallo Estrada, who are both world champions in the super flyweight division. When it comes to the super flyweight division, you don't get any of that crap that you get at 147. You don't get the politics that you're seeing at 168. In the super flyweight division, it's a good chance that the best fighters are going to lock horns with the best fighters. A division where you regularly get the best versus the best. The stage is set for that fight. You know, when this rematch first became a talking point, this unification match between Juan and Roman, you know, one of my concerns was that, you know, at that time, Juan hadn't seen any action since the Dwayne Beeman fight, since August of last year. And I thought to myself, you know, it's not at all encouraging for Gallo if he goes into that Chocolatito rematch having not fought in 12 months. Thankfully, you know, Juan actually got to get a fight in this year. The very tasty fight with Carlos Cuadras, a visually appealing fight, a very entertaining fight for anybody that took it in. That was a great fucking fight.
That was a great rematch.
In all the ways that this promises to be a great rematch as well. Chocolatito, he actually got to get 2 fights in this year. You know, he was actually a little busier than Gallo. We know he beat Khalid Yafai, the then unbeaten WBA super flyweight champion, earlier this year. And he was in action on the same card as Gallo very recently against Israel Gonzalez. And that's ideal. It's ideal that both guys have seen action within the last 12 months ahead of what is their fight. So there's no ring rust, there's no cobwebs to have to shake off, and both guys are primed and ready. Tell you the truth, it doesn't even really matter who you're picking to win the fight, because the fight itself promises to be a barn burner. Between these two guys, with this much on the line, they're both world champions now. You know, Gallo's got the WBC, Chocolatito's got the WBA, and we'll see if Gallo can avenge the loss to Choco, or if Choco can, you know, make lightning strike twice. Essentially, the WBO's champion at this weight, Kazuto Ioka, he's going to see action before the year is out against his countryman, Kosei Tanaka, who is being favored by the bookies to beat him. Can only hope that the winner of that fight targets the winner of this fight set to go down in March. Jerwin Ancajas continues to be the odd man out in the super flyweight division, holding the IBF title. And at some point, you know, this guy's really got to get in the mix of the scuffle.
Join the party.
The very silent reign of Jerwin Ancajas just doesn't seem to be doing him any favors. And, you know, I hope that changes in 2021, that he becomes a part of that unification conversation.
Let's hope.
You know, I don't know. We'll see. But at least we have Chocolatito versus Estrada II to look forward to. And finally, in reference to some junior middleweight news, it looks like we will need to wait a little longer for Tim as in Tszyu, the son of Kostya Tszyu. Looks like we'll have to wait a little longer for Tim's world title opportunity. Patrick Teixeira has landed in the USA in time to make the deadline set down by the WBO to fight Brian Castano in February. We will work on finalizing our options for Tim to fight in Australia again in March, and keep busy as this unrolls, per Glenn Jennings on Tim Tszyu's next step. Dennis Hogan chimed into the situation, and he said, if the borders remain closed and Tim's world title fight has fallen through, then let's do it. I know I beat Tim, and he believes he beats me, so let's prove who is the better super welterweight in Australia. The winner moves into a world title shot. You know, Tim Tszyu has managed to have a very productive 2020 in spite of the global pandemic. He's participated in 2 sizable events of great domestic value. We know he took on Jeff Horn and beat Jeff Horn in one-sided fashion in front of a lot of Aussies, you know.
A lot of folks.
It was a big fight down there. And he really made a statement against Jeff Horn. He was in action, again, a little over a week ago against Bowen Morgan. He took that guy out in 1 round. Tim is one of the few fighters that in the year of 2020 can say he fought in front of a live audience. He fought in front of a lot of people, both times.
Lucky him.
Even the blonde bomber, Ebony Bridges, was in attendance for Tim Tszyu's last outing. And this goes back to what I was telling you guys about Tim before, that this kid's got real star power. He's got the potential to become the face of boxing in the land down under, in Australia.
Yeah, he does.
Think about the implications of this conversation. What the Tim Tszyu people are targeting is a world title shot, a world title opportunity at the WBO title. That title is going to currently be on the line in the upcoming Teixeira versus Castano fight, set to go down early next year. That promises to be a really entertaining tear-up, by the way. And I favor Brian Castano to win the match, but regardless who wins it, you know, that's essentially where Tim Tszyu's focus is. That is what they're building towards, a fight with the winner of that fight. That being said, I think that things can get a little dicey for Tim depending on where that world title lands. If by some chance Patrick Teixeira can retain the belt against Bryan, I think there's a good chance that Tim gets his opportunity to fight for it. But if that belt ends up on the PBC side of things, if Brian Castano wins the fight, in all likelihood,
Belt's going to get all wrapped up in politics.
most of the junior middleweight titles are already on that side of the street. And if Brian Castano can win that belt and get it back over to PBC Island, in all likelihood, we might see a unification match between Brian and Jermell Charlo, the current unified and lineal Ring Magazine champion at 154 pounds. I'm not against that.
I actually support that fight.
But, that's what could end up happening. And if that's the way the cookie crumbles, well, Tim's world title opportunity, his world title shot, could be delayed. And talking about keeping busy with Dennis Hogan in the mean in-between time, and if I'm being honest, I do like that fight. I like it at 154 pounds. Now that Dennis Hogan got smoked by Jermall Charlo in a middleweight division at 160 pounds. But 160, that's not a good weight for Dennis Hogan. I mean, this guy's not a big guy, even as far as junior middleweights go. 154 is a better weight for Dennis. I think he's more formidable there, and I like the idea of a fight between him and Tim in the mean in-between time. Another emphatic win for Tim against Dennis at that weight. I think that would be making a statement. If he can do to Dennis what he did to Bowen and Jeff at 154 pounds, a better weight for Dennis, I think that is sending a message.
So let's see if the fight happens.